Hello and welcome back to Asia Now. My name is Alex, and in this video I'll tell you about a Filipina scammer arrested for fake annulment in the Philippines. Australia adds YouTube to its teen social media ban after alarming harm reports. One of the biggest earthquakes ever recorded triggers tsunami, and warnings from multiple countries, plus much more, beginning with a USD to peso exchange rate. Right now, $1 equal to 57.3. Here's our main story. In Cebu City, Philippines, a 33-year-old woman was arrested in an entrapment operation initiated by the Mabalang police station at a mall in South Road Properties. The suspect was identified as Monette Queen Marine Abangan, married, unemployed, and residing in Barangay Nakankon, Talibon, Bohol. She allegedly offered a no-show annulment to her victim, Lieutenant Adrian Ray Madrid. Based on the investigation, the suspect introduced herself as a Secretary of Attorney Khalil Gibran Miranda and offered the annulment service of 100,000 pesos. The victim agreed, and the two were supposed to meet inside a restaurant at a mall after the suspect asked for a down payment of 50,000 pesos. However, before the meeting, the victim called a lawyer to verify suspect's identity and was told that she was not employed by him. Following this, the victim coordinated with the Mabaling police station, which then set up the entrapment operation. When the victim handed over the down payment to the suspect, police officers immediately intervened and arrested her. The suspect is currently detained at the police station facing charges of estafa. All right, good to see somebody getting actually arrested for trying to scam somebody else. If you don't know what a no-show annulment is, I'll give you a little bit more detail so you have a little bit of understanding, because I had no idea. A no-show annulment is an illegal or fake service where someone claims they can process and finalize an annulment, a legal declaration that a marriage is null and void without the spouse having to appear in court or go through the proper legal procedures. In the Philippines, annulment requires court proceedings, evidence, and personal appearances. So any offer of no-show annulment is a scam or fraudulent shortcut that violates the law. It's often used to trick people into paying large fees or something that won't legally hold up. Yes, please be very careful. These kind of things, once again, people try to take advantage of you anytime they can, so it's important to be aware of these kinds of things. Let's say you meet a beautiful Filipina and you fall in love and you want to marry her, but she was previously married, and you want to get this over with and get an annulment, and somebody says, hey, give me some money, I'll get it done fast. It's a scam. It's not going to happen. This stuff takes a long time, so I have no idea regarding that, but let me know if you've been through the process. Share with everybody else so they have a bit understanding of how it goes down, so they are not also scammed in the future, if you care to share your story of how your partner got an annulment in the Philippines. Next up, 3 megaquakes spark a tsunami. A powerful 8.7 magnitude earthquake off Russia far east has prompted tsunami alerts across parts of the Pacific, including Philippines, Japan, Hawaii, Russia, and Ecuador, and warnings on the California coast and the U.S. U.S. President Donald Trump urged Americans living in Hawaii, Alaska, and along the Pacific coast to, quote, stay strong and stay safe in advance of a possible tsunami hitting the shores. Trump made the post on Truth Social as tsunami sirens wailed along shorelines in Hawaii following one of the most powerful earthquakes in modern history. From my understanding, the biggest one was 9.2 at some point. Since they started recording this with this kind of scale, it's frightening. To be honest, I can't imagine that kind of water coming at you like that. I know there's a lot of fake videos as well and AI generated ones. People will do anything for views, so please be sure that whatever you're watching comes from somewhat of a credible source. Even then, sometimes I've seen channels as big as 8 million followers posting fake stuff. So yeah, just a heads up there. Hopefully everybody's safe and the damages aren't as bad as it sounds. Next up, Australia has reversed its earlier decision and will now include YouTube in its upcoming ban on social media access for teens under 16, citing research that showed 37% of kids aged 10 to 15 encounter harmful content on the platform. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese emphasized the need to protect children, stating that social media is causing harm. From December, platforms that violate the new law could face fines of up to 49.5 million, I assume, Australian dollars, which would be around 30 million USD. While YouTube argues it is not a social media site, the government pushes forward excluding platforms like messaging apps and educational sites from the restrictions. I thought Canada was like progressive and liberal. Listen, man, I don't think anybody wants to harm, not anybody. Most of us, regular people, would want no harm on kids, but to ban under 16 years from using YouTube seems a bit extreme in my personal opinion. And then again, I got no kids, so I can't really say. Even if I had kids, I would assume I'd raise them with some kind of parental control. That's where they have YouTube Kids section, right? I can't imagine how many content creators, influencers, people that want to be a YouTuber, because even some of the most famous YouTubers were kids growing up unboxing toys and making a lot of money and providing a better future for themselves and others. Of course, Well, if they say the research is there is harming kids, I can't really argue against that. Let me know, which camp do you fall under? Do you support this new law that requires only 16 and above to be accessed on YouTube? Or do you think this is a bit of an overreach by the government or overstepping? Because then where do you stop? How do you define harmful? What about those kids shows that show like all kinds of stuff that I would not want my kids watching, with these like hidden messages, or not even hidden sometimes, blatantly adult content? Anyways, let's not get into all that. I mean, some of that stuff, it can be very questionable, right? Introducing kids to all kinds of stuff that I personally don't agree with. So let me know your thoughts regarding ban on under 16s using YouTube in Australia. Unacceptable. This is how Siquijor Provincial Administrator Dale Tudut described the current power crisis in the province, with 10-hour to 20-hour blackouts affecting the island less than a month after President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. visited the area. Even the president recently said that these power suppliers need to get their shit together, basically. And I don't blame him, and the people should not tolerate this. For the longest time, 10 to 20-hour blackouts, how does somebody live there? You know, like, what if you have medical needs, you got people on like machine, not even that, just like proper living anyway. These days, you need electricity, you know, like, not just the internet, but like to make coffee, make some food, anything. So let me know if you live in Siquijor. I've been there myself only for a couple of days, and even during that time, the power went out very briefly, though. Just one night, it was really bad with the storms. Yeah, so hopefully this gets sorted out, because my heart goes out to those living in the island. Staying in the Philippines between June 2nd and July 25th, 19 police officers from the Philippines National Police were dismissed for misconduct, according to the Internal Affairs Service. These dismissals came from 9 resolved administrative cases, which also led to 1 suspension and 2 demotions, while 9 officers were cleared. Basically, police not doing their job and doing shady things. It's a lot of people get dismissed, but looks like they're trying to clean house. And then a photograph from the Philippines quietly shook the internet. It showed a young boy holding a pen he built himself, just a plastic refill wrapped to a stick with a rubber band. With no access to proper school supplies, he didn't wait for help or sympathy. Instead, he took scraps and turned them into tool for learning. His story isn't viral because of pity, it's viral because of power. It reminds us of creativity, grit, and the will to learn can outshine any obstacle. While some take education for granted, this boy used what little he had to move toward his future, while others are just complaining. This is a story that demands reflection instead of asking someone for pity. Yeah, it's very motivational, but I think it also is a bigger question to be asking: what kind of school can I provide a simple pen or pencil to students? This should be definitely taken care of a little bit better across any country. I don't really know many countries that have the education system well funded, right? And in Canada, a lot of times people complain, mostly because of teacher salaries, but I think it's heartbreaking to see a kid have to make his own pen to learn. This story isn't new per se. I think this was a couple of years ago, but I think the message still remains the same. People need to be given at least some tools to be successful, and I think a pen or pencil isn't much to ask for from the Department of Education. And then in our feel-good moment of the day, Sorato Shimizu breaks the 100-meter age group world record, a 16-year-old with a 10-second 100-meter dash. Amazing. Usain Bolt was 22 years old when he broke the record at 9.53 seconds for the 100-meter. I wonder if this gentleman from Japan can do it within the next 8 years. Let me know. What do you think? Usain Bolt's record is going to drop? Or do you think that's something untouchable by anybody? And that's it for today's video. Now, it's time for a segment, Yesterday Today, where I read some of the most popular comments regarding our previous video. Vernon Smith says, processed 8 million arrivals, most from the U.S. What they didn't say, most are OFWs and retirees returning home who are fed up with America. And Joe Bade says, many of these are tourists and are just Filipinos with foreign passports. And that's a very good point, because yesterday, if you were listening, I mentioned they said 8 million arrivals. They never mentioned they were foreign arrivals. They said international arrivals, meaning coming from a different country, which means a lot of Americans who are Filipinos, naturalized to become American, come to the Philippines. And that's why the numbers they provided only summed up to about 2 million if you added the numbers that weren't Filipinos. Basically, they just took all the arrivals, not taking into consideration if they're actually Filipino Americans, Filipino Australians, whatever else, or they're actually tourists. They never once said tourists, they just said arrivals, which means a lot of them were OFWs, a lot of them were retirees, a lot of them dual nationals, whatever it is. Not to really, but it's significant, I think, right? Because it's misleading the numbers. I don't want to come here and just shit on the Department of Tourism, but I don't think it's proper to go ahead and kind of like say these numbers without being very clear, because as we all know, tourism, as they even mentioned, is very important, so you have to be a bit clearer. So yeah, that was that about yesterday's video. So thank you guys for sharing those thoughts. And then some more thoughts are from Dinad. If they are looking to increase the tourism, especially for long-term visitors, maybe they should bring back the 6-month visa extension. I'm all for that. Unfortunately, the Pogos and the Chinese really abused that system, I think, which was the main cause behind reducing that 6-month extension. And lastly, but surprisingly with a lot of likes, I spent 2 months, says enthusiastic if fan. I spent 2 months in the Philippines from last May until the end of June. I've also traveled to Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia, and the difference is clear. In the Philippines, there are far too many unnecessary rules and scams that make it frustrating to enjoy your daily life, or I made that part up. Enjoy your time there. I will not be going back, especially when there are far better options in Southeast Asia. For me, Indonesia stands out along with Thailand. The people are warm, the culture is rich, and the food is incredible. It is a perfect balance of affordability, beauty, and hospitality. That is the place I see myself retiring in the future. I know in the most recent year or so, a lot of negativity, rightfully so, I think, in many cases. I'm not here to tell people how they feel. Everybody's different experiences. I'm surprised so many people like this message because it's on Asia Now, which usually covers Philippines topics, meaning that you have some interest in the Philippines. If not, like if something was negative for me, let's say I didn't like my time in Jakarta, I wouldn't really care to be watching Jakarta news or mainly Jakarta focused information. But let me know, what do you think of this whole 6-month extension, Philippines tourism? Anything you want to share your time in the Philippines in the past few months, any feel-good moments, be part of the community, and feel free to join the Facebook page of Asia Now. I'll leave the link in the description. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Of how your partner got an annulment. It's a hard word to say for me. Annulment.